Hi there, I'm Dr. Gillian Bruce and I'm an alcohol researcher in the Division of Psychology at the University of the West of Scotland, and I'm here today to talk to you about some of the science that explains why we drink what we do. Yes, you heard correctly, there is science behind our alcohol consumption. And it might come as a surprise that within social drinkers, that is, those who are not alcohol dependent, that there's more to the amount and the frequency of what we drink than just deciding on whether we feel like a drink or not. So it's not really as simple as whether or not we just say yes or no to a neighbour who knocks on the door and asks us for a drink, or what we reply to a text from a colleague or friend inviting us for a drink. There is in fact science driving that decision. And in addition to practical reasons such as needing to drive later, home commitments, work commitments, etc., there are a number of different mechanisms that occur in our brains that lead us to make a final decision on whether or not we want to have an alcoholic, or maybe not want, but decide to have an alcoholic drink at any particular moment. And we're not consciously aware of many of these mechanisms, but they do all contribute to the final decision. And the mechanism that's said to be the final step in this pathway on deciding to have that drink um, is drinking motives. And these are basically the reasons why we drink. And there are four main recognised motives. The first is social motives, and they represent basically what we would commonly categorise as drinking to be sociable. So maybe going out to celebrate a birthday, enjoying a night out with friends, something like that. Then there's coping motives. These are when individuals use alcohol in an attempt to deal with problems, and they're often associated with heavy and sometimes problematic drinking. The third motive is enhancement motives, and these are when people drink to allow them to do something they feel they otherwise couldn't or wouldn't, or to become more positive. And finally, there are conformity motives, sometimes also known as social pressure motives, and that's exactly what they are, drinking because other people do it and to fit in, often with peers. And these are reported most often in young people, sometimes even in those who don't want to drink but feel that they have to due to their peers. And motives are measured using a questionnaire. It's been developed a long time ago and it's been used in many studies and is shown to be reliable in measuring these motives across different ages, different cultures, and so on. And when we use this scale, the most reported motive, or people are usually highest on, is social motives, drinking for social reasons, and the least frequently reported motive is coping motives. Although often this can be the most concerning because it is when people are turning to alcohol to try and deal with some problems. So what's this got to do with COVID? Well, I'm sure you're aware that it was suggested that people were drinking more during lockdown. There were several media reports claiming that there had been big increases in alcohol consumption, with supermarkets selling more alcohol than ever, more than Christmas time, etc. But this could be due to people stocking up, and also don't forget pubs were closed, so people who wanted to drink did have to buy their alcohol somewhere else, like a supermarket. But this led me, along with Dr. Lynn Williams of Strathclyde University, to investigate what was actually happening with drinking further and to do it in a more scientific way. So we carried out a study which looked at drinking in general, but more particularly at motives for drinking during lockdown, and compared that to what was going on before. And we're interested in a number of areas, but I'll mention a few here. So for example, we thought it might be that we would see a rise in coping motives. Many people find themselves in incredibly difficult situations, and it may have been that they looked to drink more to try and deal with that. We also thought we might see a decrease in social drinking motives. People were stuck at home, and again, they had these difficult situations. Maybe they weren't thinking of drinking for social reasons as much. So we collected data during lockdown period, and we've had a preliminary look at that. And we haven't found any overall differences in drinking measures during and before lockdown. We still need to look into this a bit more and look at the patterns. So it might be that overall consumption hasn't changed, but the way people are drinking has changed more. Maybe more often people are drinking more days, but less at each time. So there could be a difference, but overall drinking measures are not different before and during lockdown. And when looking at the motives, we found actually motives were lower across the board. Now, normally motives are related to consumption, so you would expect lower motives across the board would mean lower consumption. We haven't shown that. But what we have shown is that people didn't show that they were drinking more for coping. So again, it's maybe to do with what was happening at the time. This scale might not be the best for measuring motives in a particular situation. It wasn't designed for that. it maybe misses out on a number of things. And we thought of that when we were carrying out the sort of design of the study. And we decided that we would also ask people what other reasons they were drinking during lockdown that might be different than they would normally drink. And a large percentage of people reported that they were drinking due to boredom. They were perhaps furloughed, they were stuck at home, there weren't many things to do, so they were drinking because of that. Also, a number of people said that they didn't need to be up and about early, so it didn't matter if they drank late at night. And also that they didn't have to be out driving, so they could have a glass of wine with dinner. So what does this say? Well, all in all, it looks like there might be differences in the reasons why people were drinking during lockdown as compared to before, even if the overall amount isn't different. But on the whole, the overall amounts did look comparable to before lockdown. So we would like to investigate this further and see as we're coming out of lockdown if things do change, and we will be following up on this study. But these are the preliminary findings. So thank you for listening today. And if you're interested in learning more about motives, there are a large number of both scientific articles and Google articles actually on motives for drinking. And you're welcome to contact either myself at gillian.bruce@uws.ac.uk or Lynn Williams at lynn.williams@strath.ac.uk. Thank you.